Every week, the Payne family cuts straight to the real financial story.
The one question, Bob, everyone's asking is, are we in an artificial intelligence bubble? You've been through boom and bust. What do you think?
No hype, no myths. Just what actually matters to your money.
Does feel very similar to what we experienced in the 90s. Where are we, though? Are we in 1995, 1997, 1999?
Listen to the Pain Points of Wealth on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Listen, all you New Yorkers. Taxi.
Okay, man, we're looking around.
This is the 77 WABC minicast.
Let's talk about something on this Ventilation Friday. I want to talk about something. I have been listening carefully to as many people from any type of medium that I can handle discuss what's going on in Minnesota. The lionization, the apotheosis, the beatification, the canonization, the elevation of this pretty, and this is the most stupid thing I've ever heard in my life. So here's my question. And you can call this a conspiracy. I love the term conspiracy because it's not a conspiracy theory in the least. But I want to ask you a very simple question. What is really behind this? What is behind this? What is behind this? Now, nobody's talking about this. Oh, people talk about stuff like, well, you know, Bruce Springsteen, who the hell cares? By the way, Bruce Springsteen, his current version is probably the worst song he's ever done. And you can also tell he's almost like telegraphing it, because I wouldn't be surprised if Bruce has a deal with USAID or USAID, and now that money's gone, he's got to still deliver because he owes people or something. Because remember that ad he did for Biden, the political ad, where he was in a diner. I thought he sold his soul. Anyway, it doesn't really matter. I mean, who cares about Bruce Springsteen? But his music is okay. But even when they get older, they lose their oomph. Remember Paul McCartney after 9/11? Freedom, talking about freedom. What? Freedom. He just had three buildings knocked down. Well, two knocked down because of whatever reason. And we have him talking about freedom. What do you mean freedom? Springsteen had to go to The Rising, I guess. The Rising, when the buildings fell, was kind of interesting. It was very, very good. But this current, I heard a couple of seconds of it. It was lame. But he had to do it because he and Clooney and these others have sold their soul to the devil. But here's the question. Who's behind this? I'm asking you a very simple question. Who's behind this? Who's behind this? Who is behind this? Nobody's talking about that. I'm seeing all of this nonsense about this. Who is behind this? Now, what I'd like tonight is, of course, if you don't mind, we always put an emphasis on new callers, especially people who've never called the talk show in their life. I find that to be fascinating. People who've never found their way, because it's very daunting. And also people who actually enjoy the notion of conversation, give and take, and who want to talk about something and not necessarily as part of some kind of a greatest hits. But I want to explain something to you. And you may thank me later if you'd like. And if you want to sign up for my newsletter at lionel.news, you can get this for you. But let me explain something to you. What is happening right now in Minneapolis, I'm glad I had the chance to explain this, is being presented as some kind of, some kind of spontaneous protest. Some, grassroots, organic outrage. But a growing number of analysts and independent reporters are arguing and pointing out, by the way, not on cable news, not on conventional news, but elsewhere. But people have posited that the pattern resembles a coordinated influence operation, for lack of a better word, rather than some grassroots, eruption out of nowhere. Now, look at what's going on. Are you following this? The tactics, the symbolism, the organizational fingerprints, all of them indicate methods that have been used overseas in so-called color revolutions. Let me stop for a minute. Remember Occupy Wall Street? Occupy Wall Street was Operation Otpor, O-T-P-O-R. Remember that one? Otpor was, I think it was Serbian. These are professional organizations designed and organized in order to provide in order to provide the organizational framework, including chanting. Look at the Maidan case, which brought about the whole Ukraine business. That was all orchestrated. That was man-made. Now, of course, when you tell a lot of these people, they'll look at you like, what are you talking about? And that means I'm a completely overpaid dirt. Because remember, if they think I'm wrong or crazy, that means I'm right. Now, the tactics that we're talking about is very simple. Whether one accepts this framing or not, it doesn't matter. But the similarities are difficult to ignore. First of all, let's look at what we've got. Make a note of this. Costumed demonstrators. Why do we have costumes? Why do they look kind of, sometimes they'll maybe wear even funny masks or different little outfits? Why is that? Why are costumed demonstrators? The idea is to disarm public perception. They have disciplined street choreography, coordinated media amplification. These are all of the check marks, donor-funded activist infrastructure, all following similar templates. They have the organizational. Are you following this? This is not random. This is organizational. Who's doing this? Is anybody talking about that? No. And again, I know I'm harping on this, but I want you to understand the reason why is because you're not being told not the truth per se, but what's really going on. One of the most controversial flashpoints. Have you heard this Dr. Maria Stephan? Have you heard her? Please do. Stephan. This is a longtime figure in nonviolent resistance training who publicly praises and lauds these theatrical protest tactics, such as inflatable frog costumes and other kind of wild stuff, in order, why do we do this? To energize young people and to reduce, listen carefully, the perceived threat while maintaining this kind of a disruptive movement, this army of people that are still kind of frightening. Now, what this Stephan openly discusses, she'll talk about, listen to what she says, blocking roads, occupying buildings, deliberately courting and inviting arrest. And skeptics note that these methods are identical to those, listen carefully, and those of you in my world, in the Conspiratorium, you'll know what I'm talking about. These methods are identical to those promoted by organizations such as the U.S. Institute for Peace, the National Endowment for Democracy, and U.S. aid-affiliated programs that operated abroad and here to an extent. When you mention National Endowment for Democracy, that's it. That's it. Now, remember, and I want to tell you this, you are not going to know what's going on if you keep listening to people who don't know this. I can't say that enough to you. This is a conspiracy in its purest sense. It's an organization of two or more guilty people involved in a confederation to bring something about which is rather nefarious. Now, the concern, by the way, is not peaceful protest. No. The concern is whether these techniques are being repurposed domestically. Remember, this is what's done out of the country, but to destabilize political authority here rather than to, allow for plain old dissent. A lot of folks are pointing to nonprofit networks, activist coalitions, labor-aligned organizations that all receive indirect government funding. Follow the money. And there's investigative footage has claimed that Minneapolis street operations were supported by trained activist networks willing to escalate, listen to what I'm saying, escalate confrontation and reject compromise. These are professionals, emergency officials with backgrounds in overseas humanitarian operations have compared Minneapolis conditions to foreign conflict zones. And they're also reinforcing this perception. This is so critical, that these stories, these crisis stories, are being imported here. There's people like Mike Benz online who've traced funding pipelines and personnel overlap between foreign regime. This is going on right now. The National Endowment for Democracy, by the way, was created after congressional investigation limited direct CIA involvement in political influence operations. These are spooks. This is old. See, this is what sometimes you'll hear people talk about, the notion of the deep state. And it's like, yeah, that's sort of it. Deep state is more of like holdovers. This is a shadow government. These are people who are there. The level of organization will blow your mind. The tactics and how they work with liaisons in the Democratic Party. Have you noticed this? Now they're going to tie it with budget considerations and shutdowns. We, and I'll include myself, the Republicans have nothing like this. They have nothing. They don't know what you're talking. They don't know anything. They don't do anything. I guarantee you right now, if you walked into, and I'm sorry to say this, into the Oval Office and got the geniuses like Stephen Miller or whoever and said, do you know what this is about? I think they would look at you and say, Soros, not even close. Do you know what happens around the world, how this is maintained? So let me just say this. If nobody gets to the bottom of this and nobody figures out how this works, we're going to see this over and over again, and they're waiting for more people to be killed because they want to riot.
Every week, the Payne family cuts straight to the real financial story.
The one question, Bob, everyone's asking is, are we in an artificial intelligence bubble? You've been through boom and bust. What do you think?
No hype, no myths. Just what actually matters to your money.
Does feel very similar to what we experienced in the 90s. Where are we, though? Are we in 1995, 1997, 1999?
Listen to the Pain Points of Wealth on the Red Apple Podcast Network.